So we've done a 48 state ride several times. I think 6 times. You did it once by yourself. We've done a 50 state ride. We've done a Magoo ride. We've done a Four Corners ride. What else do we
Arctic
have?
Circle.
Arctic Circle, Pony Express twice now. So how do these rides come about? What's the process, or how do these things come to light?
Just like we're doing right now, sitting around talking. The 48 states was, if I lead into, all right, I wanted to do 50, I couldn't do 50, I did 48. And that was going to be done. Truly, that was going to be the end of the ride. I had no desire to do it again at that point. And there's a lot of people that told me I shouldn't have done it by myself. Mike Jolly being one of them, Tim Wynn being one of them. Mostly the guys that are in the law enforcement realm of things, were telling me, hey, something's going to happen to you. You don't need to be out there by yourself, And I'm stubborn and hard-headed and everything else, and so I did it. And I got home, and I truly was, when I got home, and kind of go back to that first ride a little bit, we were trying to raise $32,000 to buy this draft Omni bed for the NICU. Get home, and we've raised $52,000, a testament to our community right there. And that floored me, and coming home to that crowd was even more of an adrenaline rush. All of a sudden you forget riding in the rain in Texas, because all those people there, and they're congratulating you and wishing you well. But all I did was something I loved. You don't have to. I got to ride my motorcycle across the country, and in the meantime, some kids got the benefit from that. They were telling me not to do it, and I wasn't. And I remember it was August, we're doing the Midnight Express. Mike Jolly always comes and helps with Midnight Express. Well, let me rephrase that. Mike Jolly comes and sits in the chair and watches everything going on around in the Midnight Express. So, that's Jolly's way of helping. So, but
he's good at it.
Give him a cup of coffee.
Yeah, bring me a cup of coffee. But he was one of the biggest ones to telling me I shouldn't do it. And he was also the biggest one saying, I'm going next year with you. And I was telling Mike, it was just once I did it. This thing doesn't have legs. I don't even know if anybody else would be crazy enough to go. I definitely want to go. And I was arguing back and forth with him, and finally he put his, being the sheriff, he always carrying, puts his hand on his gun, and he said, I'm going with you next year, and you're going. And we're doing a ride. Yes, sir. I agree. We will do it. And that's how Ride 2 really, truly came about. And I was a member of the Hog Group at that point, so I've talked to a couple people, about it, and then some of them said, well, I might like to participate in that. So, I know you're going to tell this story at some point, but I met you in the camera store, and you came on as the 11th rider that year. I think we were going to have 12. I think somebody had to back out.
I think it was Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rick had to back out.
Yeah, Rick had to back out. So, and said, okay, I did the 1 year solo. I'm taking some guys, and we're going to do this second year. We'll do the same thing. We'll do the lower 48. It was a little bit more planned. I think we had hotel rooms actually booked at that point. We had somewhat of a route. I don't think GPS was much better even on that second ride.
It wasn't great.
Yeah.
There was little Garmin GPSs
that we had. So the weather wasn't great.
No, it was not.
That same place in Texas that I had trouble the first year, we had trouble the second year. And we went to the same hospital that I visited the first year, and they were waiting on us to get there. And I can remember Ralph Kingery coming into my room. He said, "This is crazy." He had a few other choice words in there besides crazy.
Well, if you know Ralph Kingery, if he says something's crazy,
Yeah.
it's pretty darn crazy.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. And I told them, I said, I don't know what it'll be like going with a group. I don't know what it'll be like weather-wise. I can tell you what I experienced, but they all wanted to do it. I said, okay. So we did it, and I think we were $92,000 when we got home that second year.
I don't remember exactly, but that
it was somewhere in there.
Right,
and I was like, wow, So as it progressed, other people wanted to do it, and I think we went like 4 years, and I was like, this has got to end. This is insane. We've done this 4 years now, So we set that $1 million goal. We're going to raise $1 million. We're done. That's it. Boom, finished. We accomplished something that was just remarkable. We're going to raise $1 million for the hospital, and we're going to sit back and relax and tell stories about it. And it was like the greatest thing in the world, and which it was. 7 years, a bunch of guys like us raising $1 million, and it was remarkable. And I remember it was the final ride. I think there's the shirt out there still with it, and there's promotional pieces out there, the final ride.
We have a patch as well that says the final ride. Yep.
Yeah, we have a patch on our vest that, the final ride. In 7 years, raise $1 million. I was like, wow, that's a hell of an accomplishment all these guys did. And that's a good stopping point. We come home and we hit that big number, and I think it wound up being $1.2 million or something like that, or $1.1 million. I forget what it was. And we hit that number, and it was like, we're sitting around. I don't want to quit. You want to quit? No, I don't want to quit. What are we going to do? Who are we even going to ride for? Because I felt, I made a big deal, or we all made a big deal about this was the final ride, and we were going to be done riding for the hospital. And I was uncomfortable going back to the media and the public and our community saying, oh, by the way, we're done. We're not done. We want to keep doing it, and we're going to keep raising money for the hospital. And I just wasn't comfortable with that. I felt like maybe we need to do it for somebody else. And we came up with a plan, and I think that year was actually the Methodist homes that we were going to ride for, the Methodist home, the Arabella home in particular. And that's a girls' ranch out in Waverly Hall that, they bring girls that have been abused and, give them a safe place to live. But we had a problem. Problem was, how do we get funds? Where are the funds going to go to? And I know we all kind of sat around and we decided to go talk to Betsy at the Community Foundation. And she was gracious enough to wrap her arms around this crazy idea and let us ride under the banner of the Community Foundation. And we were off.
So for those of you counting, 7 years, and then we start planning.
We plan?
Well, maybe.
So I know my experience was, where are you going next? What are you guys doing next? Oh, we're done. What? Well, we're done. Well, we're done. And then I would get this at the grocery store. I'd get it at church. I'd get it at the bank. I'd get it. Yeah. What are you going to do? We're done. And then we sat down and said, well, maybe we're not done, because everybody's asking us, where are you going next?
Yeah.
And so we did. And so I would say it was the community that said, no, keep going. We said, yeah, great idea.
Yeah.
So we do live in a great community. And we did hit the $1 million. And we've got all the stories, and we'll get into those later about, $1 at a time, and the person buying a t-shirt really funded all that stuff, and they really did. But we live in such a giving community, and that we couldn't do it without the corporate sponsorship. And
right.
we've got Aflac, we've got Synovus and TSYS right here in our own backyard. They've been very, very good to us. So those relationships, I don't know. I came on in year 4, so I missed the first 3, but they've been involved from the beginning, correct?
Yeah, they've been involved from the beginning. I mean, the first year I had one sponsor, neonatology, and Dr. David Levine. The rest of it was small. Oh, Circle K. Circle K was part of it as well at that time. And so, and I think the corporate world was intrigued with what we were doing. I think the corporate world saw value in what we were raising the money for, and saw value in having their name attached to something that was so organic as the ride is. I think that the corporate world respected that, and this is one of the things I'm most proud of, is we don't take any contributions to offset our cost. 100% of what we bring in goes to fund our charity at that particular time, and every one of the guys ponies up their own money to do this trip. That's huge. You're taking 21 days to be away from home, from work, plus you're spending your own money to do the trip. Now, there's people I tell that to, and that are interested in going on the ride, and they like, well, you mean I can't get somebody to sponsor my gas, or I can't get somebody to sponsor my hotels? And whatever you raise on the name and the behalf of the Miracle Ride has to go into the fund, and that cuts some people out, which I get it. I mean, some of the young guys that we have, that's a big undertaking to take time off work and then spend $5,000 of your own money to go do this trip. So I think our corporate sponsors look at that, and I feel like they feel like, we know we're putting our money and it's going to where we're saying we're putting our money. And that's, to me, that's important when you're telling somebody you're doing something, that they're seeing firsthand that you are putting that money back into our community. Granger.
Right.
You named a couple of the local, but Granger was a huge sponsor. I mean, it's they see the value in it. We try to, make sure that we represent we want to represent our community well. 2, we want to represent our sponsors extremely well. We want to represent the brand, the Miracle Riders, so, I mean, that's always on the forefront in my mind. And, when we get out there and we have a good time, I mean, you get a bunch of guys together, we act like we're 12, so, but you got to remember that we're representing something much bigger than one individual. We're representing our community. We're representing our sponsors that have been there from the get-go. It's amazing that they believe and still trust and willing to share their name with us so we can go out and do what we do. And they're just remarkable sponsors. Couldn't do it without them. But then again, I ride around with that $10 bill. You couldn't do it without that guy that gave us a $10 bill or a $20 bill. You can't do it without them either.
After that first year, my first year, I actually got a call from Mr. Granger. So this was huge. Thanking me for finding in that organization. Well, that organization found me and making that difference. And he was very happy about it. And then here we are with multiple Aflac employees that ride with us.
Yeah.
TSIS employees. I'm not sure if we have any Synovus employees, but there's such a fabric of our community. There's so many of those employees in our neighborhood that follow and give, and we've got the Synovus shirts and everything. But they've just been wonderful to us, and we're just so blessed to live in a Columbus that takes care of its own.
Yeah, I agree. 100%
Columbus,
agree.
Georgia.
Georgia.
Well, there is only one.
Correct.
There is only one.
Georgia, right. So I have another note here, and I keep notes. So we want to dedicate this next part to your bike. And so here's the note. It says, your bike, WTF. Why the face? So, Scott, damn. It was 10 years old when you took your first ride.
Yeah.
And now we're 18 years later.
It's still going.
I love the most when I get on that and something doesn't work exactly like it's supposed to work on it. All the hell you guys give me.
But you sure do love it a lot.
Every morning, the hiccups when it's cranking or whatever may happen. So,
but this year,
yeah. A kickstand spring, that was it.
Kickstand spring.
But what you don't see every morning, when you go out there to start that bike, everybody sees you going to your bike, and we all stop and we do this. Please let it crack, please let it crack. Well, those of us who have the honor and the privilege to work on it,
Right.
we're like, come on, please.
Well, you got the guys that
crack.
work on it when you got to put a wrench on it, and then you got the guys that push me across the parking lot. You know,
That they're one and the same, because I've pushed you across the parking lot many times.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't start, Gary's like, oh well, they'll get him started. He takes off with the rest of the group.
you know, it's nostalgic to me for sure. Obviously, it's a lot of people don't know this. I never rode a motorcycle in my entire life. I turned 40 and I was going to buy it. I went and bought it. Harley Davidson was on Buena Vista Road. Mac Wiggins was my sales guy. And I mean, I rode a bicycle, but I never rode a motorcycle. He said, well, why don't you just ride it around in the parking lot? And that Harley dealership at Buena Vista Road, the parking lot ain't much bigger than this barn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just rode in circles. And then I noticed the gas gauge was really low.
That's been an ongoing thing since you bought it.
Ain't got no gas in it.
Like, I don't even know how to put gas in it. So I asked Mac. I said, Mac, could you take it up to that station? Here's some money and put gas in this for me so I can keep riding around the parking lot. And then I went the other direction. So, and one direction is harder than the other direction when you're going in a circle. But but he took it up there, and then I thought, well, I gotta get it home. I guess good time as any.
Here we go.
Got home it and got home and my first experience of ever being on a motorcycle. Jim called me one morning. He said, "You want to go get breakfast up in Pine Mountain, that Callaway up there?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love that." "Did you want to ride on the motorcycle?" "Well, okay." So I rode, bitch.
Oh,
This might be it.
nah.
Nope.
And we rode up to Pine Mountain, had breakfast. God, I can remember it. I mean, we talked about it earlier, the smells, how the air changes when you dip down in the valleys, all that stuff. I was like, I don't know, any true motorcyclist that rode by and saw me riding on the back, because I was grinning from ear to ear, they probably went, what the hell is he doing? There were two dudes riding on a motorcycle and one in the back there grinning from ear to ear. I was like,
What, did you have long hair back then?
no, didn't have long hair back
Okay,
then.
so I was going to say they could have thought it was.
No, could have not, but so we had breakfast and came back. I drove my truck. Yeah, same truck that I drove my truck over there.
That's a whole nother episode. 99 was a good year for barbecue.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say. New truck and a new motorcycle.
Yeah, so I had been over at his house, and he's got a long driveway, kind of like my driveway coming back in here. He said, "You want to drive it?" I'm like, I don't know how, but yeah.
What kind of bike did he have?
He had a wide glide.
Okay.
Yeah, he had a wide glide. So he was brave. He said, "Well, take it and drive it up the driveway." I went about 10 feet, and I froze up. I didn't know what to do. I was like, I knew how to operate a clutch. I knew all that stuff, but it just, I was uncomfortable. One, it was his bike, so he'd probably fire me if I dropped this thing. So, but I was hooked. I was hooked. I started looking at them, and I got to have one. And I went and saw Archie and bought it at Archie's, and it's sentimental because that's the first bike I ever owned, first bike I ever bought, and that's what I learned to ride on. And that thing's been across the country numerous times.
That bike has raised over $2 million.
Yeah.
Three.
See? That's over 2.
Well, that's
It's almost as many miles as the bike has.
it's part of me. It's just part of me, and I'll ride it till the frame breaks. If the motor goes,
Is that all it takes? I got a sawzall.
Well, sorry, Scott.
If y'all,
Hold on. I'm going to call Maxwell real quick.
if y'all see my bike in 2 pieces, and you go talk to these 2 guys. But one, people look at it and go, "How do you ride across country on that thing?"
I hear that all the time.
Yeah, but our seats are different than his.
Well, yeah, but it's just like if someone knows motorcycles and they know what a Dyna Wide Glide is, and they know the age of Scott's bike, which most people who follow the ride a lot and who ride, they do, and they're like, I just do not see how he does that on that kind of bike. And I think that's got something to do with it too, with you.
I think it does. I think,
but it fits you. It's you.
But look at it even bigger. If you look at it even bigger, it is something people can talk about, and they're talking about the ride, and they say he's still on that damn old bike.
True.
You know, so it's a conversation piece. It's kind of like when we walk in somewhere and we have our dusters on. It's a conversation piece, and people want to know why and what you're doing. You come across somebody that's is a motorcycle rider, and they like, wow, you're doing this on this bike? You know, so they go to, I saw these idiots coming from Georgia, and we're way up here in Washington State, and this one dude, he's on a 1999 Wide Glide doing this trip.
With 200 and something thousand miles on it.
You know, and so it's this whole thing wasn't even supposed to happen. You know, that bike probably shouldn't be going on this many trips. It probably shouldn't have that many miles on it. It probably should not have gone across the country 18 different times. You know, so it's something they look at and they like, you're insane. But we all are. You know?
To some extent. But now Rochelle likes it too. So she's been on the back of ours, and she's been on the back of the big dressers, but I think she is way more comfortable on yours.
Yeah. You know, it fits me. Yeah.
Like a glove.
Yeah, it fits me.
Literally.
Yeah. It totally fits me. So it's I don't know. It is me. You know, it's.
I agree.
You know, if I get a new motorcycle and people see me on it, they're going what?
Maybe that'll start a new chapter of conversation.
Yeah, maybe.
And a new.
So you know what we're going to do? When we talk to the guys now, we're going to have a question for them. Give me a memory of Scott's bike.
There you go.
Every single one of us. And they're probably going to be all different.
Well, if you ask me, I don't think I can have just one. So I'll have to do a whole episode on my memories of Scott's bike.
You can bring out all the parts that you carry for me.
Oh gosh! I don't even get to carry underwear and socks because I carry the parts for your bike. But other than Maxwell, I think me and Doug and Gary have worked on his bike more than any other people, you know, around. But I do consider it an honor and a privilege to be able to work on your bike, even though I do give you hell for it all the time. But you know, it definitely is its own persona for sure.
Yeah.
And when the time comes when that bike is retired, because it'll have to be retired one day.
It will.
I hope we find a suitable place for it, because that bike does not need to sit in a barn, this barn, somewhere. It needs to be put on display somewhere. And I mean, I'm thinking big. The Barber Museum, I don't know if they take in personal bikes or anything like that. The hospital, somewhere, that bike needs, what?
Clockwork.
Well, maybe. That bike needs to be displayed and the story told.
It needs to be around here somewhere.
I agree, and just stay here local somewhere, and you know, that would be a fitting retirement for your bike when the time comes.
You know, speaking of retirement, I mean, you know, the life of the ride. I mean, I definitely see it beyond me. You know. When I retire from it, hopefully that bike will retire at the same time I do. You know, that would be, you know, we talk about maybe one day somebody that we helped in the NICU or something rides with us, and they get to see the West Coast and they get to see the sunset, and it's all because of the efforts of all these guys, you know. But I don't, you know, it was going to be a one and done ride. Obviously it's not. obviously we all have collectively created something that is very unique, and I just see it carrying on. I see somebody, when we're all sitting in a rocking chair on the porch or sitting downtown, in our wheelchairs or whatever we may be able to sit in, that the Miracle Ride comes in and they're out there doing what we've done.
Well, we're 18 years in now, so
Yeah.
it's very possible we're coming up on a point in time where a child that was born and had our services or
Right.
bed that we purchased, funds that we donated, that they were able to partake in. It's coming to that point where
Yeah,
it's
it
a
is.
possibility to happen.
Yeah, it is. And then, and I, when it started, I never would have even thought that would even be the case. But, it's up to us to keep it fresh and keep it energetic and come up with the crazy ideas for the rides. I think, if we'd have still been doing the lower 48, I think that would have got old and people might
Sure.
have got tired of that. We talked about the different rides. You tell somebody you went to the Arctic Circle, they think you lost your mind. You got to the Arctic Circle. Visiting all the Columbuses. I mean, that was a very unique thing. I would never had a clue there were that many Columbuses in the U.S. The Magoo ride. I mean, that was,
Interesting.
it was interesting to say the least.
You know what that taught me? I don't want to be in the front.
Yeah.
I knew that already, but I really knew it after that ride.
Oh.
Because the day I got to lead, I'm like, I gotta do the route. Well, first of all, I had to figure out where we were going.
Yeah.
I had to do the route. I had to find lunch, and then I had to make sure everybody was good behind me. And I'm like, would much rather watch everybody in front of me than behind me, because that's where I'm comfortable, in the back.
That nothing was planned, but everybody has kind of fallen into their roles. I mean, just like this podcast you guys are doing. I mean, it's a brainchild of y'all's, and you're creating it and making it happen. You got Gary that does the route. I mean, it was like that's what he loves to do. And he just naturally picked it up. Brad with booking the hotels and looking after the money side of it. Everybody kind of falls into their role. You guys that ride in the back, that watch, make sure that we don't do something stupid.
No, we just watch it happen.
Just watch it happen.
Yeah, we don't make sure you don't do anything. So we just report it when it happens.
Chastise us is more the
Correct. No, correct the infraction.
Yes, that's what it is. Fraction and correction. So,
Sure.
something like that. So, but that is the beauty of it, because when we went through our issue with the name and stuff, and they wanted to change it to from the Miracle Ride to Scott's Ride. I hated that. I did not. It's not Scott's Ride. It's the Miracle Ride, and everybody has a part, and everybody has a say. Everybody has input. Everybody has what they bring to the table. And that's I think why it works. Do we agree eye to eye on everything all the time? No. But we can sit there and we can talk about it, and then we can come up with what we feel like is best for the ride, and we might have to change it midstream. But it works because everybody has a heart in it, and everybody has involvement in it, and everybody wants to. I feel like they want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And it takes us as a group to make that happen. And I love talking to guys when they first think they want to do this. I mean, it's amazing to talk to somebody and they think, well, I rode my bike to Panama City and sat down there for a weekend and turned around and came home. Yeah, I can do long rides. You don't have a clue. It's not riding your bike to Panama City. Even if you rode it down there and turned around and came home, and you did a 500-mile day that day, it's not the same as all the aspects that go into this. I mean, one, you got to do it 21 days back to back to back to back to back. You know, you're going to ride in every kind of imaginable weather that you could even think that you could ride in. You have to be on the top of your game every time you put your legs over that motorcycle. Every time you get off and you walk into a restaurant, you're representing, you know, and that wears on you, you know, and I don't think a lot of people, like, they see the glory side of it. I don't think they really see the heart and how hard it is to do it. And it's, even when we try to talk them out of it, and then they go, usually up day 2, day 3, they had no idea what they were getting themselves into. They thought they did, but you can watch them change, and that's I enjoy seeing that. I enjoy seeing somebody, that transformation where they get into it a week maybe or whatever, and they get it. They understand. They still don't understand the fatigue part yet because they're only a week into it, but they get why we're doing it. They watch you guys interact with kids, interact with people that we meet at the gas station or in the restaurants. You know, some of them I don't think even understand what it's like to be a servant. You know, and then that's what we are. We're servant leadership. When you walk in there and the restaurant's slammed, and you know you guys are pouring coffee, you're helping wash dishes. You know, we just do what we do. You know, and that's transforms some of these guys. That, you know, and the new guys. That's what I enjoy the most to watch. You know, Will went this time, and you know, I think Will, his eyes were open quite a bit.
These rookies, you can only tell them so much.
Right.
But you're right, when you see that transformation, and it's like,
Yeah. You know, I think, you know, Jason McKenzie's, you know, I mean, he's heard about the ride and stuff, you know, but I don't think, and he rides dirt bikes and stuff I would never even consider riding in, you know, but I don't think he's ever experienced what we get to experience on the road and meeting people, you know, and to be a part of opening up people's eyes to a whole new world and the way the people are in this country is definitely gratifying to me.
Well, there is a lot of personal sacrifice from each one of us, and we can't do it without a team behind us at home.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Taking care of business. I know,
Yeah.
You know, we need to interview Henry one time because I'm sure he's got stories.
Yeah.
Some of them we can tell.
Don't you want to be on the road for 2 months instead of 1 month?
But that's Rochelle also, right?
You know, it's like you talk about team at home. I mean, you know, they're guys that are on the ride, do all these things. But then you look at Karen, everything she does for us, you know, I mean, she puts her whole heart and soul into it. You look at Sally, I mean, you know, what she's done with the social media stuff for us. You know, one person can't do everything. There's just no way. You know, you just can't. It's just, you got to have that team behind you that believe in what we're doing. And you know, I'm so grateful for what Marion does for us, Sally does for us, you know, Karen does. I'm just, that are a huge part of this ride, you know, and they don't get to sit on the back of that bike and experience what we get to experience out there in the country. It's you know, it's amazing. I mean, I sit back in awe of where this thing has gone and the people that are involved in it and the impact that it's made on me, the impact it's made on, I think, on each of the riders. I think there's been an impact on them and an impact on our community. And then when you have a mama come up there and said, this was my little girl 10 years ago. She was in the high-risk nursery and she was in the bed that, you know, you guys bought. And that's moving, you know. And it'll be the same with when we're finished here with this CSU deal now. that, there will be a day that one of these guys are going to have a grandbaby, and that nurse in there working on that grandbaby that's taking care of that grandbaby will say, I got trained on the simulation equipment that you guys bought when I was going to Columbus State University. Think of the impact that has on Grandpa and Grandma and Mom and Dad.
Absolutely.
So it just, where we go from here, we'll sit around and an idea will come up and we'll dive into it like we do. And
so this group is the definition of there are no dumb ideas.
Oh,
you're right.
The dumber, the better.
Yeah,
that's true. Well, Scott, you touched on this a while ago, and I think we're probably about getting ready to wrap this thing up. So, excuse me, you touched on this about the future of the ride. So give us to close us out for this episode, give us and I don't want to put a time frame on it, but where do you hope to see this ride in the future? Let's just leave it open and broad like that. In the future, where do you hope to see the ride?
To me, I would hope that when we're not able to ride anymore, or when we're gone, that a group of guys will come in on Broadway, be a few thousand people out there, and they're raising money for our kids in our community, and it's all because of something that we started. That would be the biggest feather. The money's important, but for it to keep going, tell that story. Tell the story about how great America is. Tell the story about how good our community is. Tell the story about looking after the youngest kids that we can look after and making a difference. 50 years from now, somebody standing on that stage and said, we do this to make a difference in one child's life. That's
You've said, you taught me a long time ago, the money is what allows us to make that difference, but telling that story is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all tell it a little bit differently, but we all tell it.
Yeah.
And again, that's what this podcast is all about, is helping to tell that story. And so this is a really big component. This is in the digital age of making a difference,
right,
and trying to share those stories and help everybody understand there's a lot more to this thing than we'll see on the 1st of May and we'll see on the 22nd of May.
Yeah.
There's so much in between.
That's our life right now. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's not consuming it, but it is part of what we do and who we are. And you're dead right on that, because my story of why and how I want to do this is different than your story or different than Ronnie's story. But it all, at the end, it's all the same story. And it all boils down to, I don't even know where it came from, but the making the difference in one child's life, it's who we are. I don't, if anything, who knows what kind of motorcycle? We might be riding the damn motorcycle that flies.
A Jetson.
Yeah.
Flying through the air.
At some point.
Mm-hmm.
But when they land at that Jetson port, and that crowd's out there on Broadway and the band's playing, the hologram of a band's playing, and all that. And, but the theme is we made a difference in one child's life.
That'll never change,
Yeah.
and it should never change. That's the thread that links it all together.
Exactly.
So telling the story is a very important part of what we do in the Miracle Ride, and thank you for following along. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment, share, tell your friends about MotorMouths. It was great having Scott on here again today. We got a lot more people to talk to, a lot more to share. So thanks.
That's Brian.
That's Ronnie. Good night.
Helping one child